This is my persuasive speech entitled Turnpike Terror. Imagine a driver sitting at a stoplight on a busy highway, minding their own business, listening to the radio very quietly, as good, attentive drivers seem to do. When suddenly they looked to their left, and what did they see? A much younger driver in a new sports car filled to the top with people, playing very loud music. And of course, the driver was texting. Just as the light turns green, the person noticed the younger driver. His head came up from his lap for a split second, the car began to move, and the driver's head went right back to where it previously was. All the concerned driver could think was, what is the world coming to? Just then, the person pulled up to the next stoplight. They noticed a much older driver sitting to the right of them. They then noticed that the elderly driver was making a right-hand turn with his left-hand turn signal on, and they also observed the driver was half asleep and driving a car that was 4 times larger than their own. Just then, the elderly person pulled into oncoming traffic, stopped suddenly in mid-turn, and began going again, swinging wide into oncoming traffic, getting back into the right-hand lane eventually. The driver, still sitting at the stoplight, could only wonder how some people still have a driver's license at all, driving the way those people were. The driver then thought to himself, more strenuous and frequent testing should be required for drivers of all ages to either obtain or retain their driver's license in order to prevent accidents and save lives. So to begin to make this point, I would like to explain some things that have precipitated the need for stronger testing for people to retain their driver's license. There are these groups of at-risk drivers, and I'd like to explain who they are. The first group that I entitle at-risk drivers are people who have committed multiple offenses of the same type. These drivers have committed such crimes as DUIs, DWIs, or as everyone calls it, drunk driving. Many people who drive drunk are able to retain their driver's license and drive down the road just like you and I, even though they've committed a serious crime. As said simply by the study entitled Car Accident Causes, alcohol has caused an average of 17 car accident deaths each year. In the U.S., 39% of all accidents are due to drunk driving, and yet these people are allowed to remain on the roads and continue driving just like you and me, with no regard for other people. Other offenses that need to be taken stronger, and people need to have their licenses either revoked or need to have more strenuous testing to keep their licenses, are people who have multiple tickets on their record, who have committed such things as vehicular manslaughter or other very serious offenses. Another group I would like to talk about are teenage drivers. Lumping people into this group is very hard to do because people say it's stereotypical. However, teenage drivers have less experience than normal drivers. Some feel like they're invincible when they're driving on the road. They take chances that a normal driver wouldn't. And some are just less mature and not ready to drive a car yet. According to Teen Driver Fact Sheet, in 2009, 8 teens ages 16 to 19 died every year. Per mile driven, teens are 4 times more likely to get in a car accident than a normal driver. Another thing that isn't just affecting teens anymore is texting while driving. This is starting to get to be a serious problem and needs to be taken more seriously into either losing your license or having something else happen to that extent. The percentage of all traffic deaths caused by distracted driving rose from 11% in 1999 to 22% in 2008. This study also came up with results that examined traffic data from multiple traffic reporting systems and concluded from 2001 to 2007, texting while driving caused approximately 17,000 deaths over that period. These statistics are hard to ignore, and more strenuous and frequent testing of people who shouldn't be on the road because of their texting and driving habits would certainly cut down on these numbers. On the other end of the spectrum, we have drivers who are just a little too old to be remaining on the road, and this is something else that needs to be taken very seriously and dealt with. The elderly have many problems that should restrict them from driving. Physical disabilities are by far the largest. However, some have mental disabilities, such as slower reflexes, or they take prescription drugs that slow their reaction time so slow that they should not remain on the road. Many elderly drivers haven't taken an actual driving test in years. Many since their first driving test. So now that I have described the main categories of people who shouldn't be remaining on the road, I would like to offer some solutions that could certainly cut down on driver fatalities. First of all, toughening the actual licensing process when you're a teenage driver would certainly keep people off the road who don't belong there in the first place. These are all minor changes that could be made to keep the roadways a safer place. Mandatory retesting over a certain area is something else that could be done to make the roadways a safer place, such as taking people over a certain period of time, say 3 to 5 years, and requiring them to pass the same driver's test they did at the age of 16. Another good way to take drivers off the road who don't belong there would be random driving tests, such as like being called to jury duty. Receive a letter in the mail, have to take a driving test, and if you're unable to pass, you lose your driver's license. There are many other solutions that could be put in place to make the roadways a safer place, and this is just a slim overview of some things that you and I could be doing to help make these roadways a safer place. So to sum everything up, there are at-risk drivers out there who include multiple offenders, teenage drivers, and certainly elderly drivers who just don't belong on the road anymore. There are a few solutions that could be done, such as requiring harder testing in the first place, requiring mandatory testing over a certain period of time, and doing random driving tests as well to pull drivers off the road who don't belong there. This is a very urgent problem, and it's something that you and I need to be pushing to get the laws changed immediately to make these roadways a safer place. Thank you.